All right, guys, welcome back to the DoD podcast, and welcome to a podcast that I have been looking forward to recording for a not a very long time, but a podcast I've been looking forward to ever since I saw the fucking movie. Welcome to my mildly spoiler-free discussion of the I shouldn't say that. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This is not the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I hate the fucking title of this movie. I wish they called it something different. And I hate that trend. I hate it. Moving on. Welcome to my mildly spoiler-free discussion of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022. Man, oh man. This is a hot motherfucking topic. I am excited to talk about this. So let's just get into a little brief history lesson here. We get the announcement, new Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie coming out. Everyone's pumped. Everyone's fucking excited, myself included. We get the news that it is a sequel to the original. And we're like, okay, it's about the 1,000th one of those, but fuck yeah, maybe they'll do it right this time. And then we start getting the bad news about bad production and production problems and directors getting fired and them having to reshoot pretty much all the movie and just a bunch of fucking crazy shit. And you're just like, oh God. Oh no. That's never a good sign. And then we get the news that it is dropping. It's not coming out in theaters. It is just gonna come out on Netflix, and we're just like, oh, fuck. Oh no, they sold it to Netflix. Not saying Netflix doesn't put out quality stuff here and there, but like, oh shit, like they're just gonna dump this on Netflix and be done with it. And you're like, fuck. And then we get that trailer. And throughout all that bad news, I was like, okay, I'm still going to hold out hope. Because like a lot of people, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, is like one of my favorite fucking horror movies of all time, bar none. I think it's a fucking masterpiece. I love that movie. So I was holding out hope. I'm like, all right, this could still be fucking rad. Let's just give it a chance. And then I see that trailer. And I'm like, oh boy. This ain't looking good. There was just, and if you follow my Instagram account, either my personal one that is tagged at the end of the Days of Darkness videos, I need to update that, but whatever. If you've seen it on that, or if you've seen it on the Days of Darkness Instagram page, which I recommend you go follow if you enjoy this content, I threw up a little bonus video on there about my initial thoughts on the trailer for this movie, and they weren't good. It did not give me a lot of hope for this movie, but when it finally came out and I sat down, and like there was a moment where I was going into it ready to hate it, and I took about 5 minutes to myself before I had the movie paused. And I'm like, okay, forget everything you've heard and seen and all that shit. Sit down, don't be biased, and just watch the fucking thing and see what happens. So, I agreed with myself to do that. I clicked play. And I gotta say, does this movie have its problems? Absolutely. 150 fucking percent. It does. But overall, I fucking really liked this movie, dude. I'm not gonna lie, man. Is it going on my top 10 list? No. Am I gonna go buy the fucking 2-disc $100 fucking Blu-ray of it? No. But for a fucking Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, I think we got a pretty fucking good one here, dude. I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I actually really, really liked this. Lot of people dogging on this. Lot of people who are just saying, "Oh, this is a dumpster fire of a movie. Oh, this movie's a piece of shit. It's just an abominable fucking diarrhea dump of a movie and just all this crazy fucking shit." And I always question shit like that. I'm not saying you can't have your opinion. If you don't like this movie, fair enough. Fine. You have every right in the world to not like this movie. But to look at this film and say that it's a dumpster fire or it's just there's no redeemable quality. Come on, man. One of the big things I've been hearing is, oh, the characters are dull. Or the characters are unlikable. Or the characters are this, characters are that. And again, if you have that opinion, more power to you. But I ask you this. Let's look at the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I ask you to tell me, what is it about those characters that is so fucking compelling? The answer is nothing. Because they're not. They're really, really not. That's not the point, man. It's okay for a movie to have somewhat, especially a fucking slasher flick. It's okay for the characters to not have Scorsese level fucking writing. It doesn't need it. It really doesn't. The original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, most of the Friday the 13th movies. Fucking you look at Halloween and really not everybody in that movie is super compelling. That's, give and take. But you look at a lot of classic fucking horror movies, which, am I putting this one on par with the original? No, absolutely not. But it's the point, man. You don't really fucking need that all the time. And people will, all these film scholars will say, oh, this is just, the characters are so dull and uninteresting. And the whole, oh, stupid decisions argument just always fucking pisses me off. No matter what. Even if they're right, I'm like, just chill out. But damn, dude. For me, as someone who understands, horror and understands that you're not always going to get just the most compelling characters in the world, I don't even think these characters were all that bad. I'm being straight up with you, man. And hey, you're talking to a guy who was very, very skeptical of this movie going in. I was very, very gun shy about, that's probably not a good thing to say when it comes to this movie. We'll get into it. But I was very, very skeptical. I was very, very skeptical. And I went into it, man, and I fucking had a ball. I had a fucking ball with this dude. The characters, yes. Are they the most interesting people in the world? No. That being said, we do get some compelling stuff with them. And, I'm going to try my best to keep this spoiler free. We're just going to, go along the fucking, not even the plot. We're just going to talk about the fucking thing. And someday soon, I have a feeling we'll be talking about this movie in a little bit more detail, if you catch my drift. But until then, we'll keep this mostly spoiler-free. If I bring something up, sorry. But yeah, man. So, the characters overall, I didn't have a problem with. Another big thing I'm hearing people talk about, for better and for worse, is the fact that this movie has a very, very... is coded in, very topical... messages and not messages, but it's a very topical movie. There's a lot of stuff discussed and alluded to and talked about that, it's social commentary on today's world. And a lot of people have a problem with that. A lot of people do. And when I got the first little bits of it, I was like, oh shit. Like, oh, because I'm one of those guys. I'm not saying you can't have a message in your film. I'm not saying you can't have social commentary in your film, because there's ways to do that and still have a compelling movie and have it be, good. There's countless films that are like that. But I saw those first couple instances of this. I already had a feeling this wasn't going to be good, but it obviously proved me wrong. And the message I got from this, because a lot of people are saying, oh, this is just, this is belittling conservatives, or this is belittling liberals, and both sides are just, thinking they're being attacked here. And the message that I got personally from this movie was a pretty simple one, and one that's pretty positive. And it essentially boils down to this. Can we take just 5 minutes to not try and rip each other's throats out all the fucking time? Now, the topics that are broached in this film are obviously important and should obviously be discussed and talked about, and we should, as a people, constantly be trying to do our best to solve these problems. However, screaming at one another and, yada 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 is not going to solve anything. That's not just demonizing each other is not going to do us any good. Now, there are obvious exceptions in the real world. If you're just a straight up racist piece of shit, or you're a fucking, you get what I'm saying. If you're just a reprehensible human being, that's one thing. But to say, oh, if this person has a differing opinion from my own, that automatically makes them a bad person. That's not always the case. And I would even argue a lot of the time that is just flat out wrong. And, there are exceptions on the other half of that. There are people who are legitimately bad people who believe in bad things. And then it gets muddied up by, there are people who truly do believe in certain things for the right reasons, and there are people who believe in those same things for the wrong reasons, and you could fucking go up and down all day on that shit. But I like the fact that this movie said, hey, let's dial this fucking back for a second and stop trying to rip each other apart. Because right now, there's a guy wearing a human face that is literally trying to fucking rip us apart. So, in the scale of importance, I think that's top priority right now. I enjoyed that. I thought it could have been delivered a little differently in some spots, I wouldn't say anything was distasteful, but, it got a little heavy-handed at times. There was some stuff that I think didn't necessarily need to be there, but it didn't ruin the fucking movie for me, which a lot of people are just straight up letting this ruin the fucking movie for them. And I'm like, hey man, if that's your boat, cool. If that's your hill to die on, fine, but it ain't mine. But yeah, man, moving right the fuck along to other things that I really, really liked about this movie. Let's just talk about it, dude. The fucking blood, the guts, and the gory bitch. Shout out to the Kill of the Film section. Oh my god, dude. Buckets upon buckets upon buckets of buckets and buckets of fucking blood, dude. Oh my god. Leatherface gets fucking busy in this movie, dude. Holy shit. It blew my fucking mind how much carnage this dude, fucking caused. And he's this old ass man, but he's still a brute motherfucker. And oh dude, it was just so fucking glorious, the amount of carnage in this movie. It's so fucking rad. which when I go into a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, that's a big thing that I want, is I want Leatherface just fucking people up, and oh my god, I got that in spades. And let's just get into Leatherface. Leatherface was one of the things that I really, really, really was nervous about. I was super, super nervous about Leatherface. I said in the trailer that I didn't like that Sally straight up calls him Leatherface. And I think I even said that I don't think that they've ever done that before. They've never called him by that name. And that's a fucking crock of shit, because Chop Top constantly calls him Leatherface in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. And, you know, it wouldn't surprise me if they did it in other places as well. So, yeah, they've absolutely called him Leatherface before. And I fucking love Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, even though it's just batshit fucking insane. But overall, you know, I was nervous about the look of him. I didn't really dig the look all that much. And then, you know, actually seeing the movie and seeing it in action, and the fact that he's older, it fucking worked for me, man. Is it my favorite Leatherface look? By God, no. Absolutely not. But overall, man, I fucking really dug Leatherface in this. He's chopping motherfuckers up left and right. And I will say, I think this is the first time in a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie we legitimately get a Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Yeah, man, those are the two big positives. I dug the story overall. I thought it was a little weird. You know, these rich kids are buying out this town, and they're gonna sell to investors so they can buy parts of it, and they're just gonna make this utopia. I thought it was a little far-fetched, but I wouldn't, you know, that's the type of thing that young people kind of aspire to do nowadays. We live in a really fucked up world, and I'm not going to say I can really blame them for wanting to change things and see things change. That being said, it does not go well for them, to say the fucking least. But, you know, the story was what it was. I thought it was a unique way of getting the kids there. I thought the story with Leatherface was actually really, really compelling. And a lot of the things that I was nervous about, that I talked about in that trailer reaction, were resolved. And a lot of those worries were explained away. And they did it well. Like, this movie actually went out of its way to really dispel a lot of the worry. In my eyes, at least. I fucking dug it, dude. I thought the Leatherface story was really good. I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but it's a pretty good one, you know, as far as, like, because, I mean, we've straight up had Leatherface just die and come back before in this series. So, you know, overall, I was really satisfied with the story. Could have been a little better, sure, but again, some of the shit we've seen in this franchise, I will take this by a mile. All that being said, though, we do have to get into some negatives, because there were some things about this movie that did not thrill me. Few and far between, though. I will say I enjoyed this movie far more than I did not enjoy it. I was coming out of this, man, I had a very unique viewing experience with this, because I was, you know, I went in with a fresh mind, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, this might fucking not be very good. And, you know, the entire time, I'm just like, I'm liking it, I'm liking it, I'm liking it, I'm loving it, I'm loving it, this is fucking awesome, this is great, what the fuck? But, you know, on to the negatives. Sally Hardesty. Let's just talk about it, man. I don't think it was necessary for her to be in this movie. Really at all. I don't think you needed her. I think they kind of shoehorned that in because it's the cool thing to do now, is to introduce legacy characters. Obviously, they had to replace Marilyn Burns, who unfortunately has passed away. But I thought she was, and the new actress is fine. I'm not dogging the performance. I think she does a bang up job. She does great with what she is given. No fucking complaints about that whatsoever. I have zero problem with the actual performance of the actress. I thought she did fine. And even at the end there, which I won't spoil what happens, I think she gives a pretty goddamn great performance. But moving on. I just didn't get the sense that she had to be there. She doesn't really get a whole lot to do in the movie, and when stuff really starts picking up with her, it just kind of goes out the fucking window. And I will say there is some pretty interesting stuff between her and Leatherface in the movie. There's some stuff, it was taking some turns that I did not expect. And at first I was kind of like, okay. And then, overall I'm like, all right, I can dig it. That's a unique way to go about this. Fine. It could have been handled better a little bit here and there, but overall thought it was a fucking solid little cameo from her. But I still I don't get the sense she really had to be there. I still think you could have had the amazing final, the battle with the final girls. That's probably a spoiler, but whatever. You get the battle with them, I think you could have had a very solid movie without having to shoehorn that character in there. Especially because you could probably save that character for a more compelling role in a later film. But they just chose to put her in here. Oh well, fine, I guess. Other than that, negatives are pretty minor. I wasn't thrilled with some of the dialogue. Obviously everyone talks about the try anything and you're canceled, bro. That line is fucking dog shit. I will not try and justify that whatsoever. That line just straight up sucks. And I feel really bad for that actor who had to say that, because now, if he gets anything else in Hollywood, he's just, at least by horror fans, he's going to be known as, like, oh, canceled bro guy. Like, but no. There was some spots where I was like, that really wasn't the best dialogue choice in the world, But overall, performances are fine. Story is what it is. As far as the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, I thought it was really, really, really good, I was pleasantly surprised. Again, would I put this up in my fucking top 10? No. Am I putting this on par with the original? Fuck no. Do I still think we are lacking that true blue, real gritty, fucking awesome Texas Chainsaw Massacre sequel that lives up to the original and pulls an Empire Strikes Back? No, we do not have that yet. And honestly, at this point, I don't think we ever will. That being said, I think Texas Chainsaw Massacre 22 is them. The way I said that made it sound like this is the 22nd film in the fucking franchise. It feels like it, but no, it's like the 8th, I think. 8th, 9th, something like that. But anyways, it is not that sequel that I have been desiring for many years, but it is definitely the closest we've ever gotten to it. I'll say that. It's the best sequel to the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Out of all the direct sequels to that movie, this is the best one. And I will say that with the utmost confidence. There are Texas Chainsaws that I would put above this. I think the 2 remakes are fucking really, really good in their own way, even though they totally mishandled the Leatherface character. But it's a remake, you kind of, you tweak shit like that. Overall, man, I fucking really dug this one. I'm not going to ramble too much longer. But yeah, dude, I'm pretty happy with this. Let me know what you guys think about this movie. What did you think about the social commentary in it? What did you think about the Leatherface character? I think they actually handled the Leatherface character very, very well. him being old and still in need of care and yada, yada, yada. I think they did a really good job with him. But what did you guys think? What did you think of the characters? Did you just think this was a piece of dog shit? Do you think this is the best fucking horror movie of all time? No one's going to think that. But just let me know, man. I want to get a conversation going. Obviously, opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one. Just be kind to each other, and let's not fucking rip each other apart. And yeah, man. So without further ado, thank you as always for tuning into the podcast. I'm like spacing out here, dude. I'm totally fucking out of it for some reason. But moving on, man. Thank you guys for tuning into the podcast. Thank you for supporting the dream. And take care of each other and keep watching horror. All right, guys. Have a good rest of your day.